Drop a like and do share. Leave your comments and do not forget to subscribe for more videos.
What's up, guys? This is Manoj Guptani. I welcome you all on behalf of the Edupedia world. In our last video presentation, we have just completed one of the exciting topics, that was investigation and due diligence. I hope and do believe that by now you have completely revised that topic for sure. Perfect. So with this particular presentation, I'll mark the beginning of another exciting topic with you guys, and that will be peer review. What all is being included and involved in this particular chapter, you'll get to know once I'll start my presentation. I'll be covering this particular topic in 3 presentations. In this particular presentation, I'll give you a brief about its objectives, what is the scope, and how about people usually do some kind of peer reviews. What does peer review actually mean? So, are you guys ready? Are you guys excited? Perfect, guys. Fasten up your seatbelts. We're about to take off with the first topic of the day, and that will be introduction. What does peer review actually mean? So in order to make you aware and make you understand what does peer review actually mean, let's hear a very good story. It's about 2 friends, Ram and Shyam. So like as usual, these are my favorite names, Ram and Shyam. So I'll briefly narrate you a story in order to make you understand the topic relating to peer review. They have been very good friends, okay, Mr. Ram and Mr. Shyam. One day Shyam was writing a paper, okay, one examination test. So all Mr. Shyam wanted was that before getting the same checked by the teacher, he was basically ensuring one thing, that the same gets reviewed by one of his friend. Okay, so after witnessing so many people around, he finally glared his glance on Mr. Ram, and there he got them. He just invited Mr. Ram to please come on the table and kindly check. Before I submit my paper to the teacher, you please check my paper in order to ensure whether I did the same correctly or not. Guys, what do you understand by this thing which Mr. Ram did to Mr. Shyam? It's a kind of review, okay. Mr. Shyam has done something. He wanted Mr. Ram to check and verify whether the same thing has been done correctly by him or not. So what it is all about? It's all about one thing, that Mr. Shyam wanted Mr. Ram to review his work. Okay. And who is Mr. Ram in this particular case? He is basically the peer of Mr. Shyam. So, if I'll have to summarize this particular story into one basic thing. So this term peer will actually mean a person who is having a similar kind of understanding, similar kind of standing between 2 people. And if I'll talk about the term review, it simply means the conduct of re-examination or retrospective evaluation of the subject matter. So in general, for a professional term, if I'll say about, so the term peer review would mean the review of work done by a professional by another professional of similar standing. Let's suppose your firm has been appointed by banks, okay, and your firm is basically taking care of the bank audit for one of the company. Now, what will happen? Now, once you'll be doing this particular bank audit, okay, you'll be getting so many documentation done for the same. You'll have to have that kind of documentation fulfilled at each and every place of your business. That is your firm business. So, what if in that case, ICAI, our respective, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, they appoint another auditor from another firm, and he or she is basically going to check whether you as an auditor have properly complied with during your different audits or not. So ICAI can appoint Messrs XYZ company chartered accountants to take and undertook the complete peer review of another firm, that is ABC company chartered accountants. This will basically involve one thing, okay, that the review of work done which has been already been done by your company, and the same will get reviewed by another professional who is having a similar kind of standing. So it is basically a kind of regulatory mechanism for monitoring the performances which are being done by professionals for maintaining what? The quality of service which is expected of them, for enhancing the reliance which is usually placed by the users of financial statements for economic decision making. Guys, we all are aware of one thing. What? That the users of financial statements, be it stakeholders, complete stakeholders, be it shareholders, be it creditors, be it banks, be it financial institutions, all of them are relying on the kind of audited financial statements that you'll be providing to them. What if something wrong happens to it, and they'll be relying the kind of data which has been presented in those financial statements which have been audited and verified by you? Definitely that will involve so much of questioning during that moment of time. So in order to ensure that you maintain your quality of service which is being expected out of you by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, by the society, by the people around, this peer review work is extremely important. It is basically a kind of regulatory mechanism for monitoring the performance of professionals for maintaining the quality of service which is usually expected out of them. So as defined in the statement of peer review, this is one statement which is being available over there. So peer review, guys, is basically a means of examination for review of the systems and procedures to determine whether they have been put in place by the practicing unit for ensuring the quality of assurance services as envisaged and implied and maintained by the technical standards, ethical standards and professional standards, and whether these were effective or not during the period under the review. This is a kind of a definition which has been presented in the statement of peer review, which is one of the guidelines. So all you need to understand is basically it's merely a kind of regulatory mechanism for monitoring the performances of professionals for maintaining that quality of service which is being expected out of them. The examination and review of the practice unit would be carried out by a reviewer. Who will be the reviewer? In that particular case, it's a member. It's a member who has been selected from the panel of reviewers which is maintained by the board. And if I'll talk about this term which is called practice unit, this is the term which is most commonly used under this chapter of peer review. Then this practice unit term will basically mean the members in practice who all are involved in the occupation, this profession by being the members in practice, whether practicing individually or as a firm of chartered accountants. So this will be termed as the practicing unit. I hope I was able to provide you a great kind of introduction for this particular topic, and I'm sure that you guys have understood each and every aspect of it. Shall we proceed, guys? Perfect. Now let's move towards the objectives. What all are the objectives of peer review? So guys, the number one objective of peer review is to ensure that in carrying out of the assurance services assignments, the members of the institute comply with the technical, professional and ethical standards which are being provided and as applicable, including other regulatory requirements. Number two, the members of the institute should have in place the proper systems, including the documentation thereof, to amply demonstrate the quality of assurance services. So if I can say about this particular thing, guys, all we can say is that the primary objective of peer review is not to find out the deficiencies. Its primary objective is to improve the quality of services which are being rendered by the members of the profession. Guys, this is something which is being mentioned in the statement of peer review itself. Okay, there it's been clearly mentioned that the peer review does not seek to redefine the scope and authority of the technical standards specified by the council, but they seeks to enforce them within the parameters prescribed by the technical standards. The peer review is basically being directed towards the maintenance as well as the enhancement of the quality of assurance service, and to provide the guidance to the members to improve their performance and adherence to various statutory and other regulatory requirements. So technically and accordingly, wherever, if in case it happens that the practice unit, that is the member who is being under the review, is not following some kind of technical standards, then in that case the reviewers are expected to recommend the measures to improve the procedures so that they can elaborate further in order to ensure that the key objective of peer review exercise is not to identify the isolated cases of engagement failure, but the main objective is to identify the weaknesses that are pervasive and chronic in nature. If I'll have to provide you an example, so I can say that let's say there is some kind of absence of formal planning of audit. This represents a very serious deficiency, and that needs to be provided as a remedy by the practice unit. So in this particular case, an instance for the auditor not carrying out the physical examination of some of the, let's say, assets, maybe furniture, fixture, that may not attract the same comment. That will be different in both the cases. However, in that particular case, certain items of the assets are best verified through physical verification process, and not adopting the same procedure may rightly be viewed as a systematic failure. So the conclusion which I can say about this particular stuff is that the peer review seeks to identify and address the patterns of non-compliance with quality control standards. This is their main objectives. One, to ensure that the practice unit, that is a member of the institute, are complying with the technical, professional and ethical standards. And number two, that these members have in place proper systems including the documentation thereof, so that they can amply demonstrate the quality of their assurance services. So all you need to do is just remember these two major objectives. I hope I am being very much clear with the kind of objectives of peer review as well. Shall we proceed further, guys? Cool, let's move towards the next topic, and that will be scope. What all will be included in the scope of peer review? So guys, this statement of peer review is basically going to lay down the scope of the review, how this peer review will be conducted and what will be its scope. So this particular peer review process is going to apply to all the assurance services which are being provided by the practice unit. By practice unit, I simply mean the member of that institute who is under the review. Number one, all you need to do is you need to first of all get a practice unit. Okay, you need to get a practice unit which will be selected for review. The kind of engagement records with respect to each and every kind of assurance services that the same company, that practice unit has provided for, will be pertaining to this particular peer review period, and it shall be subjected to review. What all will be the things that will be covered? Let's understand them one by one. Number one, compliance with the technical, professional and ethical standard. Whether that practice unit, that member of the institute, has complied with the technical, professional and ethical standards of the institute or not. Number two, the kind of quality with respect to its reporting they have provided, the same shall be under the review. Number three, the systems and procedures they have been using for carrying out their assurance services, that will also be under subject to this review. Next will be the training programs. The training program for their staff, be it article assistants, be it audit assistants, which will be concerned with the assurance functions, including the ones which is relating to the availability of the appropriate infrastructure as well. Then comes the compliance, the kind of compliance with the directions and different guidelines which are being issued by the council to the members, including the fees to be charged, number of audits undertaken, this register of the assurance engagements which are being conducted during the year, and such other various related records. All of them will be subject to this particular peer review. And finally, the kind of compliance with the directions and guidelines which are being issued by the council in relating to the article assistants, that how many number of hours they'll be required to work over there, with their attendance register, their work diaries, their stipend payments and various other such records. All of these things will be covered under the scope of peer review. I hope I was able to provide you clear guideline in order to make you understand what does the scope of this peer review will actually mean. Shall we proceed further with the next topic, guys? Perfect. Let's move towards the next topic, and that will be the technical, professional and ethical standards. Like in my last slide, I just made you understand that you'll have to comply with the technical, professional and ethical standards. So what does technical, professional and ethical standards actually include, and what does this particular term mean? So guys, this technical, professional and ethical standard, that will mean the kind of accounting standards which are being issued by our very dear the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and which has been prescribed or notified by the central government of India. Next will be the standards which are being issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, including the kind of engagement standards, the statements, the guidance notes, the standards on internal audit, the standards with relation to the statements of quality control, various notifications, directions, announcements, guidelines, pronouncements. All of these things will be covered under various other standards which are being issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Then this will also include the kind of framework for the preparation and presentation of financial statements, framework for statements and standards on auditing, standard of various assurance engagements, standards on quality control, guidance notes which are being issued with relation to the same thing from time to time by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And finally, this will also include the provisions of various relevant statutes, the kind of regulations, guidelines which are being provided by them to all those specific engagements which are being under the review, including the instructions and guidelines for notification of direction with respect to various n number of regulatory bodies, guys. So all these things will be covered under technical, professional and ethical standards. So are you guys up for the same? So whenever you feel like, and there are some of the chances wherein you get an opportunity to do peer review for another firm on behalf of your company, then all you need to do is you just need to keep these things in your mind, that you need to comply with all those technical, professional and ethical standards. Shall we proceed further, guys, with the last topic of the day? And the last topic will be the assurance services that will not include a few of them. Okay, let me be very clear with you guys. Assurance services doesn't mean each and every kind of service which is being rendered by chartered accountants. No. Assurance services is basically something which will be relating to primarily audit stuff. So many people do have this kind of misconception wherein they usually ask me that, sir, is management consultancy engagements are also included in assurance services? Absolutely not. So here's that exhaustive list that will tell you about some of the kind of services, the engagements wherein that's not going to be included under the assurance services. Number 1, management consulting engagements. So if in case you are providing any kind of management consultancy, the same will not be included under assurance services. Then if you are representing your client before various kind of authorities, be it income tax, sales tax, service tax, any authority be it, the same will not be covered under the assurance services. Then if you are entering into an agreement with any of a client with relation to the tax return preparation engagements, then again the same will not be included in the assurance services. Or in case you are getting involved in any of the engagements for compilation of financial statements, again the same will not be included under assurance services. Engagements to assist the various clients in various other matters, will the same be covered? No, absolutely not. If in case you are testifying as an expert witness, again the same will not be included in the assurance services. And if in case you are providing some expert opinion on various different kinds and points of principle, then again the same will not be included under assurance services. And finally, if you are being like appointed to take care of an engagement for due diligence, whether the same should be included? Absolutely not, guys. These are the exhaustive kind of list wherein these services will not be included in assurance services. So I'm sure that you guys by now must have got a very clear idea what all services will be covered under assurance. That is the one which are primarily being involved with the audit stuff. These are something which is altogether different from the assurance services, and hence these are the ones which will not be included under assurance services. I hope by now you guys must have got the complete idea about the kind of stuff that I told you up in order to make you understand more clearly relating to the topic of peer review. So all I need from your side is that you do need to revise your topic, guys. This is something which is extremely important for you and your career. So do revise in order to ensure that you retain whatever you are studying here and whatever things that I am making you understand over here. So with this, I'll be concluding my video. Thank you on behalf of the Edupedia world. Keep interacting via questions and queries in the YouTube comment boxes. I would love to answer each one of your queries and grievances. Stay connected. That will help us in understanding your needs way better, guys. See you in the next presentation with a lot more exciting topics. Till then, sayonara, take care, God bless you all, bye.